Welcome back to the channel, folks. So I'm repairing or restoring the IBM Model 30. Actually, two Model 30s, and one is almost done. It just needs the battery swapped, and then it's complete. But part of that restoration, I had to fix this floppy drive here. These are the IBM Model 30 720K floppy drives. They were made by Alps, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Alps Corporation. They have capacitors here at the bottom of the board that I will show that like to just die. But also they're the assembly that moves the heads likes to get stuck. These get stuck in a way where the head travels about half of the tracks. I'm going to show a video on how on what that looks like. Drive looks like it's fine, but it's not. It can boot from it, you can read from it, but if you try to format it, it'll even do that. Let's type today. Here we go. If we try this, oh, and it says sector not found, error. Weird. You can even use IMD and image, put an image onto it, but it'll just, after sector 16, 17, 20, or wherever, it'll just get stuck and always format the same sector. So if you try to seek to like sector, I don't know, 50 or 80 or 70 something, it just won't do it. So now I can go to, let's say, track 10, and it seems to work. But when I go to, say, track 60, it starts failing. And I learned that apparently 16 or so is when it starts to fail. And I looked online, and there's not much information available on how to correctly open these drives up and service them. People say, oh yeah, you have to like repair or replace the capacitors at the bottom of the board. Sure. But how do you, I mean, there it is. It's like 3 layers deep in that assembly. How do you get to it? So in today's video, we're going to take one of these drives apart and step by step. And well, then we see all the parts that need servicing. So as you can imagine, drive like this, it comes with this little sled here, which is actually kind of neat. And that's a magnetic thing. We don't want to put magnetic heads on a magnetic plate. I'm going to put it here. As you can imagine, this little sled here, of course, needs to go away. So we'll do that one first. Like, yeah, a perpetual thing I do is also drop screws on the floor. I'll get it later. It's a big screw. I'll find it. So then you're left with this assembly over here, right? So in fact, the bottom piece or the top PCB, there's this one here that contains all the controllers. It's just held on by these little screws. So we're gonna need a smaller screwdriver for this, using my iFixit toolkit here. Hashtag not sponsored. Also hashtag please sponsor me. I'm gonna put these tiny little screws into my also iFixit magnetic mat that I got somewhere. I forget where I got it. But again, like hashtag not sponsored. So let's open this up over here. Okay, so when the screws are loose, you gotta be careful here because there is this LED that sticks through the metal like so. So the best way to open this up is to move it forward and then open it up. So, as we can see, there is like a bunch of screws down here. Next up, before we remove the PCB here, which is held together with these 2 screws, we have to first remove these screws down here. And that's because we want to free the entire drive from its metal cage that it lives in. Like this. Now the thing is, once you do that, you'll try to open this up and you'd figure you can't because it's pretty stuck. And the reason for that is because, well, first of all, the PCB is still connected on these little tabs here and there. But also because it is so snug, at least on the other drive, it was so snug, you actually have to pay attention to these cables here that are very nicely attached to this. So let's remove this screw to hold into the top PCB. Incidentally, the capacitors on the top PCB don't usually fail. And I know there's lots of opinions online on whether or not you should recap this entire board anyways. If it works, don't bother. Now, before you pull this entire unit, mind the fact that here, this button that ejects the floppy drive, the floppy disk, this button here is spring-loaded. So there's a tiny little spring that lives, I'm not sure if it comes off in the camera, it's a tiny little spring that lives right there. That is held in place by nothing else but the plastic case here and the metal thing here that it rests against. So as soon as you push this drive apart, that metal spring will go everywhere. So you want to pay attention to not losing it. Let's perhaps get rid of the PCB first. Fine. Remove the read-write head connector. And now before you do that, notice how they're all like, this is 4 pins. This is like what looks 5 pins. Yes. And then these are both 3 pins. So be sure to not, they're keyed so you can't put them in upside down, but don't swap those around. And boink, number 1, boink, number 2. And the top PCB is now free. In between the top PCB and the mechanism is this non-conductive, I guess, aluminum foil. Keep it. You do not want the bottom side of this PCB to touch what is surely going to be conductive metal in the mechanism itself. And here we are. Here we almost are free with the mechanism, but not quite yet. Quite a bit of force is required to move this, but of course you don't want to be too forceful. You don't want to break it, right? Ah, here we go. Now it is loose. Okay. And this is what I mean. I see here where that spring is. It's held in place by a hair. And of course, once you go ahead, since we're already in here, we can give the entire unit a proper clean. Here we go. Here we go. That's right. Okay. And the drive cage is gone. So here's the spring. Magically, it didn't just go pew and go like away. Dirty, dusty. It'll get cleaned before we put it back together. This spring here comes out very easily. Don't lose it. We'll put it right there for now. Good. And here you have the actual mechanism itself. Okay. So the reason for all this assembly is in order to clean the stepper, and here it is. So here's the stepper. Here's a stepper motor. Here's the stepper. The entire unit here is very, very stiff, so you can't easily move it, and I recommend you don't try, because that for sure will mess up the alignment. And it turns out IBM, or Alps rather, conveniently gave us this little thing here. This plastic thing is a screw that you can undo, and then you can move the worm gear here around it a little bit and align the drive properly. You can see if I use the stepper motor here, just twist the worm gear, the worm gear with my finger, it'll go for a little while, it'll go easy, and then eventually it'll go really hard and I can barely move it. And that's exactly the problem. So at some point here, it needs more lubrication. So to get to that part, you actually have to take the top part of the mechanism out. And the way I like to do that is do it from the side where the stepper motor is on. So if you're here, first of all, notice here and here are 2 springs. Definitely, carefully disengage those before, I like to hold it up here. Carefully disengage those before they go pew, and then you get to buy a new spring from Amazon or wherever you like to get your springs. Hopefully that'll fit. And then there are 2 screws right here and right there, which you can easily undo. Here's that. And then keep applying pressure with your finger, because as soon as this comes up, this bracket comes loose. And then very carefully here, see this? As soon as the bracket came loose, there's this little thing. This is basically a wheel. So it's basically, it contains, let me see if I can, this little axle that has a smaller like wheel, and then on the other side is a bigger wheel and a smaller wheel on the other side. that is just pushed on. It's not held on by anything else. Be careful not to lose that. So this bracket here is much longer, as you can see. So first things first, we're going to hold on to the spring here again, disengage it. And then we're going to carefully remove it, put it somewhere safe. And then we're going to unscrew this bracket too. And now careful, this bracket here also holds a component, that engages this part here that opens up the floppy. So this component, you'll see it in a moment, is right here. You see that little clip there? Yeah. This likes to slip off, and when it does, it's annoying to get back on. There's another little spring there that can go pew and then go flies away. So as you disassemble it, be sure not to miss this. So now they're both free, and now we can take the entire top assembly and take it out rather easily. And here's what I mean. When you do that, be ultra super special careful, because right here, this is the little gear, this little, what it was that I was talking about, right? So these are just these little tiny, see this here, how small this is? This is just slipped on. This is not even pressure fit. This is nothing. It's just on there. And above that is a slightly larger one. And above that is, I think that's it. Like this doesn't come out, I don't think. On the other side too, just to make sure that I don't lose it, I'm gonna, yep, there it went on the ground, of course. Second thing I went to the ground today. Well, but it's, it's right here by the camera, and I'm gonna knock over here. So I got both of the small ones, both of the big ones. I put them over here, and now we have this assembly is finally clear. Oh, here's a thing that was rattling inside. Oh, I see where this came from. This was on top of the head here. Okay, it's probably like a head stop or head bang stop or something like this. Yeah, we can glue that back on, but I don't think it's necessary for the operation. In fact, these things like to pop off of the top of the read heads on Apple drives made by Sony as well. So that happens a lot. This is as far as you have to disassemble it. Now we're here in a position where we can actually engage. Oh yeah, I can feel how it's binding. I can feel how the worm gear is much harder to turn now. So from this position, we're in a really good place to grab ourselves a toothbrush or fine bristle brush and just give this thing a good clean. Let's do that. And the way I like to clean drives like this is to just use a soft toothbrush with some IPA, some 91% isopropyl alcohol. And, there's lots of people out there that say, oh, no, don't use a toothbrush and things like this. It should be an anti-static. It should be an anti-static brush, a soft bristle brush. And that is true. But recall how we removed most of the electronics, and the only electronics back on here is this guy here. And this, look, it's going to be fine. It's true. You should be careful with anti-static knus, I guess. But on the other hand, if you just gently rub off the old lubricant here, which is what we're doing, you're fine. So gently rub off the lubricant here of the old drive assembly like this, and then that should probably be enough. When I move this, oh yeah, I can already tell it's a lot better. So the reason why these get stuck is because the lube is just getting stuck, right? And sometimes, of course, the motors can seize too, and that isn't great. Oh, look at that. This one is actually stuck beyond here. I can barely move it further than here, which is, I guess, exactly roughly where I cannot, with a lot of force. So we have to, at some point, mobilize this motor. It's a little better. But before we do that, I'd like to clean the drive heads. Now, the way I do that is with a cotton swab like so. And some IPA. So I'm going to dunk my cotton swab here in the IPA a little bit, and I'm going to gently open up the drive heads. Do not bend it too far, because as you can see, there's a little spring in there. Can you see that? If you bend it too far, you'll pull the tension out of the spring, and Now, of course, need to address the fact that this here barely moves, and the way I like to do that is with just a little bit of force. I'm gonna get my multi-tool here, which is aptly branded. Shout out to my best guy Dan for giving that one to me. So just move it a little bit and try to see if it will move beyond the part where it is hitting against. And it's curious to me that it's actually, oh yeah, oh I see, okay. It's curious to me that on all these drives, they all got stuck in the same position about halfway down. And when that happens, you know, you're kind of stuck, right? So it looks like there's a little bit of the goo that is like right here in the middle that is just hardened, and it just needs to get scraped out of the way. So that's what I just did. So now it moves a little bit more loosely, and move it back, and so forth and so forth. Let's also lube up the drive. Maybe that'll help get our thing loose. And what I like to use is sewing machine oil. As you can see by the state of the bottle, and there's still quite a bit in there. This bottle has been in my possession since I started this hobby. In fact, it came with the house that I live in. It was left over by the estate of the previous owner who passed away, and judging by the state of the bottle, he had that for quite a while. There's no year on here. Maybe this is a year date code. 1978, is that it? Anyways, doesn't matter. It works perfectly, and it's a good oil. It doesn't gunk up. It doesn't attract dust all that much. It doesn't turn into this hard stuff gunking up the drive again. So this is a really good oil to put onto a drive like this to make sure it'll function for a good long while. The way I like to do that is to adjust all the points here where the drive rests upon. There's 3 points. There's 3 points in this drive. Just give it a quick like just a drop over there. And then also I like to give it a little drop over here on the worm gear. And then move the thing back and forth a little bit. Yeah. And the way you'd want to add some more oil here on these rails where the drive head sits on. So I'm gonna give it right in front of the drive head. I'm gonna put a dollop, and on the other, oopa, that was a little much, but that's okay. All right. And now, yeah, now it's working much better. But it's still binding on the last third or so. So I guess that means we also have to put a tiny little dollop. Is there any dirt in there? No, not that I can see. But a tiny little dollop right in there in the gear of the stepper motor. Bloop, bloop. There it goes. Now let's move it back and forth again. Eventually it should come loose. Here we go. It's much easier now. Much, much, much easier. Look how easy I can now turn it. So nice. All right, it's a couple of hours later. I let this sit in oil a little bit, and now it's turning pretty okay. Like I sat there for a little while and just moved this little sled here around. It seems to me that it got better, but it's not great yet. So the other drive is a lot smoother, and this one here goes well. Okay, the first third goes well, and then it's binding like very, very strongly here at the towards the last third or so. Like right here is when it binds a lot. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe the rail is bent or something like this. Either way, it's a lot better. Hopefully it'll be enough for the motor not to seize up. Now that we're at the stage, I guess the next thing we should do is now that it's all lubed up, cleaned and lubed, put this thing back together enough for us to test this, and then see if the motor spins okay, and if it spins okay, see if we have to recap these capacitors here, and see if the stepper works and the stepper seeks all right. So let me put this back together, put this into the computer, and we'll test it out. 3, 2, 1. Oh shoot. Well, flick this guy on. It's precariously balanced, as you can see. Don't try this at home, kids. But it should be okay. Yep, it should be. Nothing is touched. It's not touching anything metal. I think I'll be all right. It's at least computer's counting up RAM. It's complaining because I have this hooked up to drive B, not A, and there's no drive A in it, so it's complaining that there's no disk drive. Skip with F1. Okay, and now it's booting off of this XT IDE, which has a compact flash card in here with DOS 622. Perfect, here we are. And now we can turn off numlock and then use the tool IMD. So now, first thing I want to do is see if we have to recap the bottom board underneath to see if the speed is right. So we're going to do test RPM. Yep, we have a test disk inserted. Okay. And after a little while, what's happening? Here we go. And as we can see, it is running at 300-ish RPM, which is exactly what we would expect for this drive. Yeah, and before the battery in my microscope dies, we'll see that this one here, this capacitor, is right next to the Hall sensor that measures the speed of the spindle right here. And this one, under the underside of this drive, these three capacitors, they like to dry out, and this we've just seen in the microscope. This one here leaked and dried out pretty good. So let's replace them quick. Well, the capacitors are removed, and oh, of course, oh my goodness, the corrosion was good enough to, my goodness, cause major damage on the trace here. You see that, how the entire pad here is lifted? Oh, it's come all the way to the plastic of the PCB. Like the solder mask is gone, the trace is gone. Oh my god. So this one here is still connected by a hair. I gotta clean it up. This one here is fine. Gotta clean this up here though. And this one here is, well, halfway fine. This one here, very corroded, but this one is still connected. It's connected to the negative part here. Comes there. This guy goes right over here. So conveniently, or inconveniently, I'm fresh out of these capacitors here. These SMD capacitors. There they are. So I got this one here. I have the right one. But these ones here, I'm just going to solder in some of the electrolytic ones. 50 volt, 1 farad, microfarad. I got plenty of. So, but gotta fix this. Now I was able, by the miracle of having two of these drives, I was able to confirm. You can see how there's the Hall sensor, or there's the capacitor in question, and there's this chip here. This what is it? Some HC14. Okay, well this logic chip here, and I was able to confirm that this leg here goes straight to there. So which I guess is the negative port, or the negative terminal here. If this is an H74 74 HC logic chip, it means this is power and this is ground, and I think we just killed the ground connection for this chip. So I got to restore it. And this here must be ground, and then this capacitor probably was to the ground. So if I just replace here, solder a wire from here, make a little new pad to there, and solder the new capacitor between here and that new pad, we should be all right. Well, here we are. Man, this was a major pain. The corrosion was actually pretty bad, and actually also impacted the positive leg of the Hall sensor. So I'm not even sure if the Hall sensor is all right, but it looks like it is, because the corrosion stops there-ish. But it was really hard to solder onto this, and I think I got it. It's kind of an ugly solder blob there, but I think I got it. Rather than a new pad, I decided to just botch it. That went fine. That was a much more stable connection, and this thing is actually now, yeah, it's just wiggling because it's long, but this is ungood. Here, this one too. It was not too much corrosion, but this guy's on all right. A little wiggly. Why the heck is it so wiggly? Oh, it's not quite centered here, is it? That's all right. That should be on there, though. Let's see if it's on properly. Yeah, it's on. Okay. And this one here was easy. There's enough of the pad left, even though here you can still see the plastic on the PCB. So the corrosion ate through the solder mask, and I think I was able to stop it though. I was able to scratch off quite a bit of the corrosion and then remove the rest with a corrosion remover. So that went okay. This is connected here just fine. This is connected to the leg just fine. So, well, it's ugly that there's two electrolytics as opposed to surface mount electrolytics, but you know, who cares? It hopefully works. So we'll find out. Well, and it's running stably now at 300 miles. 300 rounds per minute. Don't you Americans call it revolutions per minute? All right, I'll take that. Anyways, yay. Okay, let's exit out of that. And now what we're going to do is the alignment test. For sure the drive is misaligned, but we're more interested right now in seeing if the drive properly seeks, as opposed to seeing whether or not it's aligned correctly. Insert the disc. Sure. It's analyzing the disc type. Let me get the camera out of the tripod real quick. Here we go. Hey, look at that. It's actually, let's turn the beep off. Look at this. It's actually on track 0 right now. And this will test the sectors. This will show you how many successful reads versus how many unsuccessful reads. There are 9 sectors per on the disk, and there are 2 sides, so 18 altogether. And this is the track ID. Now what we should be able to do is we should be able to pencil in a number. Let's say press 4 for 40 and expect this guy to move, the head here to move between the holders. I tried 2 for 20. Look at that. I try 7 for 70. Look at that. And I tell you what, this looks like it could be all right. So let's try 10. It went to 10, but it went to 8. So it's misaligned by a little bit. Let's try 50. 50 is successful. Sector 8 was also all wrong. So yeah, that's definitely some alignment issue on this drive. But seeking seems to be doing just okay now. So the servicing of this drive at least was a success in terms of making it seek all the way again. So the fact that it binds a little bit doesn't seem to be big of an issue. So 0 goes all the way back to 0. Yeah, all right. So let's put this thing back together as much as we can, and then see if we can get a grip on the alignment. So you're just kidding. I don't think this thing needs alignment. It occurred to me, friends, that the IBM Model 30 starter disk, which is a copy of my original. So this is the computer of a customer, and they gave it to me because they said sort it out, and I also, can you configure it? I don't have a starter disk, and so I made a copy for the starter disk for them as extra service. But it occurred to me that those disks aren't fully formatted. There's only like 400 or 500 or so kilobyte of stuff on the disk, and well, it's not a full disk. So it might be that when I made the copy here that it was just overwriting a misformatted or an unformatted area and therefore was unable to read. But now, as you can see, I'm on track 79 on a different disk. I'm looking at 79. I'm reading sector 79. I'm reading 18 successful attempts. And if I go to a different one, let's say 60 here, it's seeking correctly to 60. It's seeking and successfully reading at 30. It reads correctly. At 20, it reads correctly. At 50, it reads correctly. So I'm a bit surprised that. I guess it's fine. Go to the 0 track. Here we are. Now I actually hear the drive make some noise, but we're at 0, reads fine. Seek to 80, should not find the sector. Go one back, we're at 79 just fine. We can seek all day long and read this disk all day long. This disk drive is fixed. Yay. Yeah, time to just reassemble the drive with the most curious part is already reassembled. This is just the same in reverse. So I'm gonna say thanks for watching, and now I'm gonna do a little time lapse for some reconstruction zen, if you're into that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.